Hey everyone, Aussie Footy Chats here, episode 13, GWS Trade Chats. So I'm going to talk about the GWS Football Club, Greater Western Sydney, and they're one of our newer sides that was established in the 2010s, and that rounded out our competition to be the 18-team competition we have today. So this season they did quite well. They finished in the top 8. They unfortunately lost the elimination final to Hawthorn by a few points. Close game. So yeah, they just ran away with it in the end, Hawthorn, and that's finished their season. So they went into this trade period looking to bolster their list. So let's get started with who they got. So GWS got Clayton Oliver. He elected to leave the Melbourne Football Club. The Melbourne Football Club also thought that it was best for him to move on as well. So a mutual sort of thing. Almost had a bit of a fallout with the club, essentially. And he's an inside midfielder. I'll just go through his resume. He is a 3-time All-Australian and a 4-time best and fairest at Melbourne. So quite a resume. He's in that 30 bracket. And yeah, he's a premiership player. Inside mid, quite good with ball skills on the outside when he's fit. He's had well documented off-field issues and also on-ground issues with his body. And he's trying to keep fit and keep his body together, but while also balancing off-field issues which hasn't helped him. It's been well documented with what has happened to him. And so from his perspective, he's probably happy to... He went to GWS and had a meeting. There was a bit of drama with the cameraman following him and just asking him questions, which from a player's perspective, I know that would be annoying. But yeah, it's also sort of one of those things when you're a footballer, that's probably going to be... There's going to be cameras around. But yeah, I understand he's probably gets a bit annoyed. There was a bit of banter between the two, which is sort of got a laugh out of people in a way. So, and sort of just a bit of banter really. So, yeah, he jetted off to GWS, and GWS traded a third round 2006 selection. So didn't really have to give up much for him. The Melbourne Football Club also offered to pay half of his salary, which is 1.1 million, and they elected to pay 700,000 of that salary cap. So GWS got him for 700,000. They don't have to pay the full 1.1 million, and all they had to do was give up a third round selection next year. Literally not much at all. They got an inside mid with premiership experience, and GWS have got a history of turning players' careers around. Jesse Hogan, for example, went from Melbourne originally as a high draft pick to Fremantle back home and struggled with his career. And got a sort of last chance at his career at GWS and turned his career around and become one of the most dominant key forwards in the competition today. And he's really the barometer of that side. So Clayton Oliver plays alongside Tom Green and Finn Callahan in the middle. Finn Callahan's a higher draft pick from a couple of years ago. Absolute beast inside midfielder. This year he looked really good. He looked like he was just going to burst out in the competition and really take the game by the scruff of the neck. His contested possession and ball winning was just, you could see gone through the roof. Unfortunately, sort of fell away a bit towards the end of the year. I don't know if he was carrying injuries or just a young guy finding his feet. And Tom Green is also a little bit older. He's almost that middle age bracket now, where between 25 to 30, he's getting towards that 25 mark. And he's an absolute beast as well. Contested possession animal, can get in there. Arguably one of the the best inside mids, and he I did see a game of his where he was on the mic, and the way that he um, demands the football and also demands where his players be positioned is arguably a captain's trait. I think eventually he probably will end up being captain. So he just showed really good midfield traits, and he really did quite well this year. Battled a couple injuries, but his previous few years before that, his form was quite good. So now he doesn't. He has a little bit of help with Clayton on the inside. Clayton's probably a little bit better of a ball user than those guys on the outside when he's fit and when he has the confidence. So I feel like GWS can build the confidence up in him because footy's a very confident based game. Your skills and the way you go about things is very easy to put your head down. And I feel like his last couple of years at Melbourne, he's just sort of, I guess, gone through the motions, as they would say. And, a fresh start at a new club may be good for him. Not only mentally, but refreshing his career and being somewhere new coaching, and coming in and setting himself new standards to apply to. And that covers their midfield. They're quite solid in there. They probably do need a running midfielder to add into that mix. They'll obviously get Toby Green that can bounce in and out of there. He's the latter end of his career, so he'll be playing more of that half forward role, and he plays that really well. So they don't really want to take him from there into the midfield much unless they need to. So it would be good to see them run with a running type midfielder to run and carry the ball on the outside for these players. And also adds in Clayton that can do a little bit of that. So I'll just talk about also the Giants kept Leek Alir. So there was a bit of drama with St Kilda, who were chasing Leek Alir for the last 2 seasons, and they elected to want to try to get him this season in the trade period. And unfortunately, St Kilda did a lot of picks this year and traded for a lot of people. And they got to the point where they needed to trade for Leek Alir, and they essentially bailed out on him. And they sort of just left him and didn't negotiate trades. They just put the block up and said, no, we're not going to go for him now, which left his management out of the loop. And I think he was happy to go there, and that was the talk for a while. And St Kilda didn't have the picks to get him, or they didn't want to elect to use any more picks. Whether that's for players or not, I'll get into that with St Kilda. But so GWS kept him, signed him on as well, and they've welcomed him back with open arms. He's a Central District product, which is in South Australia, and both South Australian football clubs didn't elect to get him. I'm not too sure why, but I know Port, for example, don't have the picks for it and are looking for draft capital next year. Reasonably solid in the back line, and the Crows are too, but I feel like they don't have any key position defenders that are younger. So they don't if they get an injury to one or two of their defenders, they don't have a younger guy there that can back them up or in the twos. So I think Adelaide Moore had the picks to work with GWS, but didn't elect to do that. So GWS kept him, and he's a good depth player for them. Unfortunately, probably have to wait to get injuries to Buckley or Taylor to come into the side. And now Laverty is also coming to GWS through, he was delisted, as I mentioned in previous podcasts, with Essendon. So GWS essentially got him for not much, but he's sort of your third sort of defender, sort of your mid to tall defender. So that bolsters their list a little bit more on defense. So they keep 2 players, Leek Alir and get Laverty in. And they also lost a player to free agency, Jacob Ware. He's elected to go back to South Australia. I believe he's a 27-year-old halfback wingman. Was in and out of the side. Bit of a fringe player, but some of the highlights look good. He runs and carries the ball, and Port Adelaide are looking for that halfback since losing Dan Houston. So there's a role for him, but probably will play more wing. So that'll be interesting. I'll talk a bit about his role at Port Adelaide when I get to that. But yeah, that's the role he played at GWS. And unfortunately, don't get much for him leaving. But yeah, they picked him up as an older player from Woodville and played a few games there and looked pretty good. But yeah, that sort of explains who left, who was traded, and free agency. We'll get into their picks. So they have pick 12, 35, 90, 91, 109. So they've only got the 1, 2, 3, 4 picks in this year's draft. Pick 12 is reasonably high. So we'll see who they want to pick. Will they go for a young ruckman? Or they've got their forward line pretty settled with Aaron Cadman developing. And I think he'll have a good season this year. Probably a breakout season. I see him eventually having a season a bit like Mitch Georgiadis. So he's that sort of half forward type player. I think when he puts a bit more size and he just clunks those marks and has a good kick on him, yeah, could be one of the best forwards in the competition eventually. So he's learning from Jesse Hogan. They keep him fit. Jesse Hogan will do quite well. Just thinking of gaps in their lineup that they're gonna have. And I guess, like I said before, running midfielder, maybe that's who they'll go for. They'll try to get maybe one that, because they're in the window a little bit, maybe a developed running midfielder who's got a little bit of size that can slot straight into round one. Just a little tip there. That's who I'd sort of go for. And we'll just talk about quickly. I'll just load up the list that they got, who they got rid of. So the listed players: Wade the Kirsten. Sorry, it's just loading up again. Josh Fay, Jake Stringer, and Connor Stone. So Connor Stone played a few games this year. Looked okay in and out of the side. Jake Stringer is a well-documented player, premiership player at the Bulldogs. Left the Bulldogs, went to Essendon. Has had a reasonably good career. Went over the GWS and played there last year. He was in last year's trade period. And essentially, his career has been one of those of an up and down type career. He's been unfit at certain parts and stages of his career and had to go to GWS and perform. Played a few games this year. It looked a lot fitter, probably the fittest sort of he's been for a long time in his career. Unfortunately, got a few injuries, but played a lot of games. And when he played a game, he plays that sort of half forward role, mid sort of a nuggety sort of half forward, who can have a burst in the midfield. By a burst, I mean his endurance isn't that long, and you want to protect him from being injured. He's a bit older now too, so yeah, they've elected to put him into the draft and redraft him as a rookie, which is just a slight salary sort of dump. So they won't be paying his full contract, and he'll be on a rookie wage. But he also gets to keep playing AFL and having another season, and match payments and stuff like that kick over for another year. Whether they go and see how his season goes this year, could absolutely play another great year and continue on, and they could maybe upgrade him as like a sort of reward in a way. But yeah, that sort of covers his position. I know Connor Stone is also going to get rookie listed, I think, from what they've said. And yeah, so they've brought in Clayton, lost Jacob Ware, got a first round pick. They've added an inside midfielder to be addition to their side, and that's quite a summary for GWS. And yeah, so I just like to sort of explain that, and I've got to say, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and I would like to thank all the GWS fans. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I've got Hawthorn next, which is going to be a big one. So stay tuned, and yeah, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. So please like and subscribe. We're building it up slowly, and I really appreciate the comments, what people have said, and yeah, I appreciate a lot of good feedback that I've had. And I'd like to thank everyone around me as well for being good support. And yeah, just gonna this good summary and trade chat about GWS, and we'll move on to Hawthorn next. So thank you everyone. Have a lovely night, and thank you.